when the lockdown was imposed, what did you feel and how did you respond to it po?
I felt very uncertain and very unsure of how it's gonna impact my life at that point.
Here, so a lot of plans were delayed, no? And I guess how I responded to it was just that I was just trying to change my mindset that there's a lot of things in our lives that we cannot control, especially like something like a pandemic, no? It's really out of our hands.
Then again, when everything really became uncertain, that's when the anxiety kicked in. You don't know what to do. Will you accomplish certain things? And a lot of things really change.
So, given those, given the lockdown, the COVID, this and that, the dangers, what were your realizations, throughout this event?
You have to ready yourself that there will be changes in your plans. Just don't think about how slow the progress is, but just thinking about it as a short-term goal, just finishing that certain thing, small steps. Adjust yourself that plans can be changed, and at the same time, you really have to take care of yourselves and your family at this point because it's really out of our control. Like,
and I remember this prayer, whether this is for work or personal, that there are certain things that we can change. And then we have to accept the things we can't change and the wisdom to know what to do with those things because
everyone is struggling. Not to glorify the struggles because I also hate it. I also hate struggling. But I think it was a good source of reassurance for me not to put a lot of pressure in the things that I do or in the things that I want to achieve. We live and we learn. No matter what the context is, no matter what the difficulties are, I think we continue to live and learn. I think it made me even realize how life is so short and what things truly matter and what things do we want to spend our energy on and our mental focus on. So
in what ways does this experience change you as a person?
And what changed for me is really have a deeper connection or faith with my religion. I'm Catholic by nature, to have a deeper relationship with God. Last thing is to look at things with gratitude. We tend to bypass a lot of things before. We focus on problems, and then now the little things we become grateful for.
We tend to look at our lives with a greater perspective and in a better perspective. And my greatest outlook that is actually change, like my insight in life and my expectations about the benefits of technology in terms of the financial wise and other areas in life.
Because of the pandemic, it gave me so much quiet time to realize and to read self-help books and to explore other lifestyles like minimalism. So like these things, I'm sure that if we didn't have the pandemic, I'm not glorifying the pandemic, but since here we are, and let's just explore it and use it to our advantage. So I feel like because of the pandemic, I was able to explore different things. It's all about perspective. How do I use this unfortunate event in my life as a way to make myself more resilient? Of course, by not invalidating my emotions, but how do I incorporate this in my daily living? To my emotion, because you can never give what you do not have. So I just want to put it out there.
And professionally, during this time, what is it like to be an OT?
At the start, it was really a struggle for us teachers to teach those students those skills and how to teach them, especially when it comes to online teaching, because there's a lot of barriers. It's kind of frustrating at first, parang ganun ba? And there's really a lot of adjustments. To be an OT in this pandemic, you really have to be flexible.
But during pandemic, to be honest, I don't think that it changed how the pandemic changed how I feel towards being an occupational therapist, or it changed the essence of the profession. I think it actually even intensified how we could bring these changes and bring these services across different populations, across different ages, across different diagnoses. So I think it actually made us even more, like in arts and crafts, right? We have to think of new ways, of new things, of new arts to explore with our clients, with our patients. So I think like we have to see the pandemic as like an art where we have to know when to modify what we need to do or how to modify what we need to achieve. So I think, yeah, so again, use it. We are already here. We do not glorify the pandemic. We all hate it, but we have to use it to our advantage. Now, how can we use it to our advantage? So maybe think of new ways to deliver our services. Teletherapy is there, and other means will be there soon.
And as an OT, I became more aware of myself, of goals, professional goals. Are you at the setting where you really want to? If I took an oath as an OT to take care of people, so I took a leap of faith this year and volunteered at a medical center. But I felt fulfilled. You'd know, you'd feel it, that you're at peace where you are despite the uncertainty of things. It's so renewing to learn in ways that we don't expect.
How do you convince your patients to avail teletherapy services? Some of them think that it's not effective and very demanding on their part. May I know how are you able to persuade and assure them that there will be improvement on your patient's part?
They had a set of rules to give services like face-to-face, teletherapy, and then another is the availability of the online platform. You get to talk to them more.
I guess with regards to the questions regarding how do we convince them, I guess it's all about educating the caregivers or the primary guardian of the children of the your patients or their like you really have to understand the parents' part or the patient's part. Repetition is the key of mastering skills.
Viewers, what are your frustrations as an occupational therapist, and how did you deal or handle your frustrations?
How the pandemic affected our practice and how it gets in the way every time, every session.
The frustrations as being an educator doing online setup, expected challenges that we're going to encounter, and which is kind of similar during face-to-face, but even kind of amplified those effects because of the lack of control when you're doing online classes. So if you're not gonna listen, make sure you're gonna study in your own time. I have my resources here. I'll post it online. It's really up to your decision if you're going to study it or if you're gonna listen to my lecture. As long as you learn from it, like I'll give you that opportunity to be independent about on your learning as a student.
As a clinic owner, my main problem is that how do you make this practice as an OT and as an owner sustainable? When I envision that clinic, I envision the clinic that doesn't look like just a clinic. I envision a clinic that looks like a home. So we go back to our core. So when I envisioned this center, I envisioned a world that's accessible, equitable, that gives an equal opportunity to all. So
what are the changes of PAOT rules and regulation in this pandemic?
That there are so many chapters now in the country. So if you like, for example, in Western Visayas, we have our own chapter. We are a very small community here. In Central Visayas, Sir Brian is also serving the chapter and the academy. In Luzon, I think there are many chapters arising in Luzon. So I think that's one way to connect with other occupational therapists, share our practices, share our frustrations, share our joys in the practice, and really build a strong network of occupational therapists.
This last question to all of our guest speakers today, do you have any parang tips or parang comforting words or encouraging words to our participants who may be going through these struggles that you and I are all, going through as well?
As I've said, everything is for our good. It's for a higher purpose. if we look at it with gratitude, instead of we have to be honest on things that we get frustrated about, both personally, professionally, but not be overwhelmed by it.
Is just try to take every day as it is. Like work on small things, build up your habits to be more healthy and physically, mentally, and in terms of career-wise also. And focus on the things that you can control. Because since we are in this situation wherein a lot of things are out of our hands, just focus on the things that you can control. Because if you focus on things you can't control, you just get frustrated.
Cling on to something that you know would make you feel strong or make you feel resilient. So for her, it was her spirituality or her connection to the divine being. And for Sir Brian, like focusing on what you can control rather on what you can't. Because negative effects actually are things that we can't control. But what we have control over is how we respond to these things. And I think once we consider them as different compartments, then we have to remind ourselves, in this compartment, I'll give my 100%. If my 100% doesn't work well in this compartment, it should not affect the other compartments that I will have for the rest of the day. Well, and if it does, I will not invalidate myself. I will still do my best.
And I would like to end with a quote from Sir Japet: to take risk despite the difficulty, because that's how we grow and we learn holistically.